This is Project Command OS 2.0, a project management tool that we built inside of Airtable and Make.com that took ideas and project ideas and a description and a hypothesis and turned it into fully AI automated tasks for all of your different team members. And I do have a series of videos about how this was built and how it is used, but it essentially takes all of those project details, the start and end date, plus you add in your team members. Inside of the team members, we have our team member skills so that the AI is trained on what team member is responsible for what type of tasks within the business. And then from there, it'll automatically generate all tasks and assign those tasks to them with the correct deadlines and dates for that project. Now, this product has been quite a big success, but today we're taking it a step further. So today we're building out Project Command 3.0, and we're going to add in a component that watches Google Meet recordings, pulls in the transcript from the recording, and then automatically creates the task from the transcript. So you won't even have to write anything after we're finished with today. Plus, the other annoying thing that most business owners that I've spoken to about Google Meet is that if they need to share the video recording with the attendees, then there's always an issue inside of the Google Drive for your permissions. So we're actually going to fix that inside of that workflow here today as well. Now, of course, we will be making the N8N automation templates available for free. So you simply just follow the link in the first comment. You get access into the free section of our community, which would be this resources section. And then you simply just come across to this Project Command 3.0 automation system. And all of the N8N templates that I'm about to build will be available in here for you to download freely, upload into your own accounts, and begin using today. Now, also, this is episode number 4 of a 9-part video series on N8N and Airtable AI systems. So everything we talk about here at Big Moves is about building systems, and it's so important to follow this through from episode number 1 right through to episode 9. So if you haven't started from the beginning yet, I'd highly recommend you do that. And make sure you stay subscribed so you get access to all 9 videos so that you have 100% confidence in how to turn basic automations into systems that clients use and adopt. So like I said, this is 2.0. We're going to build on top of this template. And then also we'll go ahead and transform these make automations into N8N automations. So nobody really uses make.com anymore. They've lost all of their relevancy, especially when it comes to AI automations. So we're going to recreate these inside of N8N. Plus, we're going to build 2 new workflows. So workflow number 1, like I said, is going to watch the Google Meet recordings, add the transcript to the database, create a trigger to the host to determine whether to plan task and share recording. It must have the dates for when the project begins, and it's going to generate a description, hypothesis, start time and end time, and team members. Workflow 2 will then, if approved, plan tasks from the transcript. So this will be part of what we bring in from Make, but we'll add in a couple of components, which is we'll reference the team members and their skill sets to assign the tasks, and then we'll also share the recording with the attendees if that is what the host wants to do. So all of these things are going to happen over the next couple of hours, and I'm going to give you the exact step-by-step process of how I build this out. Now, obviously, I've planned this out a little bit in this whiteboard right here, but ultimately, I'm just going to be doing this on the fly. So you'll see me probably make a few mistakes and just see how we work through building these types of systems. So if you don't know, I run an agency called Make Big Moves, and we work with businesses doing anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 a month, all the way up to $1 million a month. And we've helped them transform their business with all types of automations. Plus, I do have a community with over 700 members of people who've purchased the templates that we have created over the years. And right now we're starting to scale that up. We're building epic systems for clients. And that's the number one thing we talk about when we speak to clients is that we don't just give them automations. We actually build them systems. And it's the most important thing to know. People don't really care about the automation component. The automation should sit behind the scenes. Your clients almost never need to go into the automations themselves. What actually matters is building proper systems. So they include interfaces that people can work from to arrange the data. Google Sheets is just not enough. It just gets way too confusing. So that's why we're using Airtable. We're starting to look at Softar and maybe a few other products recently as well. But we're building these types of systems for clients because the systems are the things that make it easy for them to use themselves. It's easy for them to train their team members. It's scalable, meaning that if they want to add more people into the workflow, they just add them into the system. They don't have to train them on how to use N8N. Plus, it just looks better. So if you want to learn how to build real systems rather than just basic automations that you see all over YouTube, then this video is going to be for you. So we have the plan, you understand who we are, and now we just need to figure out where we actually start. So there's a number of different things that I'm thinking about here. Number one is, like, let's start with an existing automation that I've got that is very similar. So inside of N8N, I created this one, which I haven't really used that much, but it does work quite well, where once there is a Google Calendar Meet completed, we have some code that gets the attendees from that calendar booking. It then finds the Google Drive video. It gets the transcript from that video. It extracts the transcripts that Gemini create automatically. It then creates a list of to-dos. We then split those to-dos into individual tasks. And then depending on what I wanted to do here, I could then assign those tasks to my Google Calendar, or I could assign them to ClickUp. So this flow is similar to what we will be creating. Basically, the first components here, I mean, we're not going to create a list of to-dos immediately, but the first components here are essentially what we need for this system. So I'm just going to copy this to the clipboard, and we're going to come back in and create a new folder, and we'll call it Project Command 3.0. So we're going to create a new workflow, and this one will be our Google Meet to Airtable database flow, and we'll paste this first one in here. Now we need to get some data into this workflow. So if we look at schedule trigger, it's basically looking at the last hour. Now I did do a test meeting just before, so I'm just going to drag that test meeting up to here, and it should now find the test meeting that we've just created. So let's just go back into our workflow here, and if we go execute step, then it looks like we now have an output in there. So that should be, nope, we need to actually execute the step on this one. And it's actually got the wrong email in there. So let me see if I can refresh that. I can't refresh that. So what we actually need to do first is go to Google Cloud Console. So Google Cloud is actually quite confusing, and they change it all of the time. So it makes it even more confusing. So today we're going to try and figure out how we can actually make this work. So we'll go sign in to Google Cloud. Now first, if you haven't set this up before, then you'll need to create a new project, and then everything should sit within that project. If you have set it up, then hopefully it's going to work. So the first thing I'm just going to check is, do we have our Google Calendar enabled? So we're just going to our marketplace here, and we'll just go Google Calendar. And then we're looking for the Google Calendar API. And then we'll click enable on the API. So that'll allow us to use our credentials to get access to the Google Calendar via the API. So that means we now need these credentials, and I already have one here called N8N tool. Let's see if we can get access to this. Sometimes it won't actually let us. So it does have a key here. Let's go to OAuth consent screen first, and let's go get started. And we'll just call this N8N calendar, and we'll just make the accounts email. This is just going to be for internal. So if it's internal, we can use the app essentially straight away. And let's go next, finish, and create. So we're just adding in some emails there, and we're just setting this up. So the next part we need to check are our clients tab, I believe, and we go create a client. And then here we're looking for a web application, and you just give it a name, whatever you prefer. And then we're looking for the authorized redirect. So if we come back into our N8N workflow and then come up, and we'll go create new credential, and I'm going to call this one. Okay, it might have made it a bit easier. So normally we need to add in some API details and so forth, but for some reason it's saying that I am connected and it potentially is working. So let's just check if that is the case. So if I go to there and I hit execute step, we have a recorded video and we have a meeting test. Okay, so that's what I'm doing now, is I'm recording the video. So meeting test. So we need to now have a way to figure out which ones have a video or not. So let's see what we've got next. So it's got 3 items here. So we actually need some sort of filter. So let's just open this up again. It'll actually be easier if we work from here. So we'll go if, and we need to look for a way to find if it was a meeting with other people. So there's sequence that could be interesting. Attendees. I mean, we could say if attendees is not empty. Let's try that. So we'll go string is not empty. JSON attendees. It's not going to work. Hangout link. Okay, so we just had to JSON stringify it, and from there we've added in our Hangout link. So it actually provides us a Hangout link, which means that there was a meeting. And then we're saying if it is not empty, then that means there was a meeting in this last hour. So if it was, then we can just do nothing. So we're just add a do nothing operation so we can see what's actually going on there, and then we'll clean that up. Next, we have some code here that it gets the attendees. So in order to write code for N8N, I simply come into our ChatGPT. And then over on the left, we typically have access to our GPTs. Here it is. So we have an N8N assistant that we can use. So I'd simply just tell it that, okay, I'm just looking to extract from this JSON here, the attendees of this meeting. So that's all this piece of code is doing, and it's extracted the two different emails that we need for here. Next, we need to then get access into the Google Drive. So I think this might actually be the wrong Google Drive, but let's just test it. Okay, so that seemed to work. So essentially, I'm just sharing this file immediately with the other person that was in the meeting. So that's what we're doing here. So I just quickly checked the email, and maybe it was already shared with the attendee now anyway. They might have fixed that, but regardless, we've just made that share with the attendees. That means that and we've turned on, we don't think we turned on the notifications. So we turned off the notification so that they will only get that email if we choose to send the email to them. However, it's done, so it's not a big deal. Then we need to get the transcript from the Gemini document that also gets created. So if I come back into our test meeting here, and down the bottom, Gemini actually automatically creates a summary and creates some details here. And then on another tab, it creates a transcript. So we had to figure out a way in order to get this transcript from the meeting, and so that we can pull it across into our workflow. So in order to do this, we need to do a HTTP call, and then we're using docs.googleapis.com, and then we're feeding in the file ID from the attachments into this section here. So we've pulled that in from here. So if you come down, there'll be a link here for this ID. So it might be easier if I open this up. So down here under attachments, we've got field ID, and then that ID there is the ID that we want to pull in the actual tab or the actual document. But from there, we also needed the second tab. So we're using specify query parameters here, include tabs content, and that equals true. So if I execute on this step here, it's showing two items. So you can see here it's pulled in. We've got this one, a whole bunch of things on the first page, and we've got a whole bunch of things, like basically a large output that we now need to sort through. So from there, we need to find where the transcript is. And again, this was just super easy for me. I just went to this JSON tab here. I copied this, went across into my GPT, said, hey, this is the JSON. We're looking for the transcript within this JSON. Help me create some code that will pull that transcript into a single field. And there it is there. So we now have that. We can feed that into AI. And this is where we begin to change this workflow. So we're not creating a list of to-dos. We're actually creating a description of the meeting because we want to match. So basically now we're moving to create everything that we need for the project. So we need a project name, we need a description, we need a hypothesis, and we need some extra task context. Plus we need a start and end date ideally. Now that doesn't always get covered in the meeting. I'm not sure that our IM covered it in the transcript itself, but this is what we're looking to create. So we could pull a description from the Gemini tab, but I think I'm just going to generate it all since we have the transcript anyway. So let's just come back and we'll figure this out. So number one, I'm going to go task or project title. And then in our prompt, we're feeding in today's date and time, the time zone, and then the transcript. Then we've got our instruction and then our output structure. So this is just a title, so it should be quite an easy prompt. So we're just saying your task is to generate a title for this project. Keep it simple yet easily identifiable, and do not add any extra context to your output, the title only. So it's given us project command OS automation workflow. I think that's, and then now we can continue on. So I'll just go duplicate. And the second one is we want to create a description. So we just need to remap in this transcript. And we'll say your task is to generate a description for this project. Keep it, we'll say, only needs to be a single paragraph for the description only. And we're just using GPT. I mean, I just want to use GPT 4.0 really. 4. All right. So we've got our project title. We've got the description. We now need a hypothesis. Now, the reason why we generate a hypothesis is because if you go back and watch the actual build and version 2.0, we were using this in order to store all of the ideas that you have inside of your business. Now, the hardest part of running a business is prioritizing the ideas that you do have. If you're an entrepreneur, you have millions of ideas throughout the course of a year, dozens per day. And that's how so many people get caught in the trap of like always chasing the shiny object. It's the boring work that happens consistently over time that moves you forward. But it's still good to maybe put down all of the ideas that you have into a system and then find a way to prioritize those ideas. One of the best ways that I've found to do that is with the ICE score, so impact, confidence, and ease. So every time we create a new idea, then we want to be giving it a score so that we can have an overall rating that then allows us to prioritize based on impact, confidence, and ease, how effective it would be for the business. So we also want to have a hypothesis before we even start a task, because it allows us to think a little bit deeper as to, will this actually be beneficial for the company? Because what a lot of people do, they do the things in business that are easy to do, that they're confident about, but have very little to no impact. It's the high impact things that are typically much harder to do that are the ones that you should be focusing on. If they're high impact and then easily implemented, then they should absolutely be the ones that you're working on as well. So that's why this system was built initially, is to have a system like this that we could store all of our ideas and then plan out the ideas with AI. But for the moment, we also just want to make sure we're adding in the correct things into the dashboard as well. So let's just come back to our workflow now, and we've got a bit of a hypothesis there. So we could go ahead and do some scores, but because this is just from a project, then it's probably already in flight anyway. We don't really need a score because we're already working on it. So we have these things now. We've got our title, we've got our description, and we've got our hypothesis. Let's just check the whiteboard again, see if we had anything else. Okay, we probably need to pull in start dates and end dates. So let's come back in and we'll do that. So basically this one, I'm asking it to output the content as JSON. So let's see, we actually need to probably give more details on the date JSON. No, so it's got it right. So we'll just add the start date and end date variables just to make sure that it stays consistent every single time it generates. If you don't add these in, then it will actually change these variable names from time to time, and that's how automations will break. So we'll just add that in, and then we'll go generate, and then it should keep these consistent. Now, we may need to change that depending on what Airtable require from us, although we could probably change it inside of the Airtable component as well. So now I'm going to, so it's actually, see, we got this right. So it's saying started on today. So 30th of October, so that's correct. And it's given us 2 weeks to work on this essentially, which, I mean, it's not too bad. So we could always change that if we wanted to. So I think that's all we need. The other thing would be we need to see if it can pull in the right team members. So for this one, we actually need to search our database of team members inside of Airtable. So here we'll go search records and we'll map in, and this time we need to use the ID list. So we're going to go project command, and we're choosing the template that we're working in at the moment. And then we'll choose our team members tab, and then we will return all. Let's just hit execute step. And if we look at our table, then we can see that it's pulled in all of these. And then we actually need our team member and task tab for the next workflow. So next is we need to see if it can add in the right team members for the job. So before I do that, I need to actually update our team members, because I talked about a few different team members in. All right, so I've added a new team member. So let's just go back one and we'll go execute step again. And then now we'll change this, and this will be select team members. So we actually need to combine all of those records from the previous generation. So how are we going to do this? So can we go combine? This might work. So if we go aggregate, and we'll go individual fields, and the field name is going to be team member and task. Let's just see what happens. Okay, that's what we needed. So now we can have our today's date and time zone transcript, and then we can go team members. And I mean, if I drag this in, it's not going to work, but we should be able to create. Oh, it did work. So we've got our team members here. Still didn't pull in the new one that I added. Let me just come back. Oh, it did. So we should be good. All right. Let's see if it actually plans it out correctly. I didn't change the prompt. So we should change the prompt. That would help. All right. So based on the transcript, choose the team members that should be involved in this project based on their skills and responsibilities. I don't know how we're going to output this first. So let's just execute that and just see if it does what we're asking. Okay. So it's given a reason. I don't think we need a reason. So recommended team members. It's recommending everyone, essentially. Optional team members. So in order to get the output structure, how are we going to do this? Essentially, we also need the record ID of each of those team members. So here's what we need to do. We need to go back and change something here. So if we come back to our search records, we need this record ID as well as the team members. So what I might do here is actually create some code. So let's just open this up, and we'll just add in a code node here. And what I'll say is, so we're essentially saying, here's the output. We want to find or break this down into ID, name, and responsibilities for each of the team members. And we'll just get some code that will actually help us achieve that. So now if I paste in this code, and we'll just hit execute, and we'll say, let's split it into items, which is not ideal. We don't actually want to do that, or do we? No, we don't want to do it like that. So basically I'll come back and I'll say, so basically I just want a single item. So a single array of all of these things. So let's see if this one will actually, so we'll come back in and we'll change out the code, and let's go execute again. And this time we just have one item and a whole bunch of fields. So I think this one's going to work better. So we've got team. This one will work better. So now we come back into the AI component again. And now we need to remap this for some reason. I don't know what happened here. We'll just need to go first. Gets a little bit confused sometimes. And then now we need our team members. So here we'll just go team. and that should pull in all of the team members. No, it does not. So we need to extract this out a little bit. So we just need to work this expression a little bit and extract it out. So if we add, let's see, if we add this in here. Yeah, okay. So that'll work. So we've basically just added in via JSON, and then that means we can now say in the output structure, output this as JSON. Ensure you add all the fields. Ensure you add these 2 fields for each team involved in this project. We want the ID field and we want the name field. So let's execute this step now, and let's just see what output we're going to get here. So here we've got now our team members ID and name. It hasn't added me in there as well, so maybe we need to say also include the host. I think I'm in the database. I'm not. I'm actually John Doe. So let's actually fix this up. That's why I was getting confused. Now we need to just go back, start again back here. So let's go search records. Let's pull that in. Once we have all of the team members, we then search those records. We pull the fields in that we require. We send those fields and team members and transcript into AI, and then we'll go execute step. And now hopefully we get the right output that we require. Cool. So it's got Mitch and John Per, and should add in a contractor as well. However, I would say it's not 100% confident in those skills because we haven't got them in the actual dashboard. But overall, that's now usable. So what we can do is we can then go to Airtable, and this time we are going to create a record. And again, we need to search for this time. And then we go into the projects tab. And now we can start to map in some of these things that we've just generated. So let's start with the title. So we've got our project title here. We might just need to change that to first. We've got our status, which is, we can change that immediately to in progress or planning probably. Brand asset. So this one is a little bit more difficult to do and achieve. So you would have to set these up for individual brands if you were building this out, which means I need to come in and find the record ID for our brand asset. So I can do that if I just come back into our brand assets, and then the record ID is here. So I'd simply just copy that record ID, and we need to put them in an array. So I'll just put that in there like this. Created by, let's not worry about that. Now, team members. So this is what we have here. So we need to figure out how to get these IDs into this section here as well. So what we need is basically like a set before this. And this ID field, we need to set this ID field somehow. So, all right. So I'll simply ask ChatGPT this. So we come back into ChatGPT and say, okay, we have this output now with multiple IDs. Sometime. So basically, I'm just asking for the help from the N8N assistant here of like, how should we do this? The best way to do this. So basically, I've suggested, do we use a set node? Option 1, so it's given us this. We could also use a code node. Lean more towards the code nodes. So I'm actually going to do this. I find it just to be a little bit more reliable. So let's just come back, and before we remove the set node, let's just go to code node and let's remove this, run this and see what happens. Delete that now. Come back into our create a record. And then what happens if I do this? Yeah, that should actually work. So I think that's all I'll need to do. Project pillar. I mean, we could add this bit in. I'm not going to worry about it for now. You could go more detailed if you want to add in project pillars, but this is already in flight, so it's not going to matter too much. We've got our description. We've got our hypothesis. Let's just finish things up. Our extra context will be the transcript. We've got start date and end date. So let's just see if this will work. I'm sure it will. Completed, created, parent project, sub project, tools and software. I think that's all we need. let's just test this out and see if it will work. So if we go execute step, do we get any errors? First shot, how good. All right. So now let's check this out in the dashboard. So if we come in and open this up, let's just look at it in the interface here, and we'll go launch. And then if we open this up, we should have a new project here. Maybe not. What happened here? Projects that's been added down below, but not in the interface yet. Maybe because some sort of filter we have where status is to do. So maybe we should change the status to do. Try again. There it is right there. How good. So now we have all that information inside of here, including the full transcript of that call. Now it's also added in the team members. So these are the 2 team members it's selected. You could take it a step further and use tools and software as well. However, most clients have been choosing not to use that. It's completely optional. And from this point forward, all we need to do now is come down, choose this AI model, which I could have also mapped in, but it's just as easy to come in and choose this AI model and begin to plan this project out. It's as simple as that. So before I get to that point though, we need to close this workflow and send maybe an email to the host to say that it's in the dashboard and that they can choose what they want to do with it next. So let's figure out what we need to do for that. All right, so before we keep moving on, let's recap what we've done here. So coming back to the start, we've got a trigger that triggers on the hour, looks for a new event. If there is a Hangout link, meaning there was a meeting done and recorded, then it will go up to the top here. It'll get the attendees from that meeting. It will share the recording with those people from that meeting. It'll find the transcript in the Google Doc, extract that transcript, and then feed that transcript with a few other things into the AI nodes, where we'll create a project title, a project description, a project hypothesis, the start and end dates of the project. It will then search the records for team members. So let's just rename that. We'll say get team members. It'll pull in the team members with their ID. It will add them to an AI prompt with the transcript, and it will select those team members, get those team member IDs again, and then create the record of that project inside of the Project Command OS dashboard. At that point, we need to notify the host that all of this was done. So we should be able to pull in the host email from back here. So it's going to be the creator email or organizer email. Organizer email, I mean, I don't know what the difference is. Either way, it's the same email, so it should be the same thing. And we'll send an email to them. So let's just go a Gmail node, and we'll go send a message or send an email. Is it a message or an email? Yeah, send a message, and we need a new auth. So we'll go send to the creator name or the organizer name or email. So attendees, where were we? Creator email with the subject line of the project title. So maybe we'll call this project ID, ready for planning, and HTML email. So what do we need to send into here? We need to send into here first the record ID of this project. However, I'd like to have this inside of the interface. So in order to do that, we're probably going to have to get the URL of the interface and then add this record ID to the end of the URL. So if I copy this and paste this in and add in the record ID, let's have a quick look at what this looks like. And then make this very easy to edit. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to pull in all the things that I need. We'll also do project name, project description. Okay, so we just pulled in all of those details that we need. So basically, I'm going to take this into AI and say, design me an HTML email with all of these things. And then we need 3 buttons. So basically, I'm just giving it all of those variables there. And then I'm asking it to plan or to create a HTML email before all of these things so it looks a little bit nicer. So let's just make sure that this is ready. And then if I come back in and add all of this in here like this, we should hopefully have something that looks a little bit nicer when we send the email. So let's just see what happens when we hit execute step. And now I just need to open up my email. Okay, so when it sends through, it'll look like this. So first thing is the buttons need to be fixed up. But I mean, I should probably add in meeting date and attendees as well. I think that would be useful so we know what it is, and the URL of the recording. So that would be another thing that we should actually add into the dashboard as well. And then I think that'll make this a whole lot better. So let's add those things in first. So it's having a bit of an issue getting the meeting recording URL. So maybe we just need to set that early on in the workflow. First and foremost, I mean, let's just try and set it here before. Let's go set, and we'll call this meeting URL. We actually might be able to get it from the if node instead. Let's just try that first. So if I go here and I go file URL and then try it first, yeah, it actually pulls it in from there. All right, so we didn't need to do the set node at all. So let's just reopen this again, and then we'll say, come back into our ChatGPT, and we'll say, add these fields, also fix the button font color, and make the font bold as it is too dark. Now make it white. And let's see if it can now just fix up that email, make it look a little bit nicer, and then we'll do a second test here. Right. And because we made changes back here, then we just this needs to run again, unfortunately. So let's just give this a second. Okay, so we just had an error on this because I didn't add in the actual variable in the previous version that matches team members. So we had to just go back in and fix this prompt up and just say the title of this main JSON variable should be team members, and then the two ID variables are ID and name. So this sort of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where we need to make sure anytime you're using a code node, the code will actually only use one name that from the first AI output that you get. So you need to make sure that the AI is going to output the same name every single time for the name of that variable, name of that array. So we've done that now. This one is now output by code, so that should be correct. Let's hit execute step, add the new version into the dashboard, and then let's send a new email. And here's the new email here. So we have our project name, description, hypothesis, team members, which needs to make this a little bit easier to read, start date, end date, meeting date, hosts, attendees, recording, and then review or edit project plan. So overall, that's pretty good. I would just say the team members needs a little bit of fixing. So it's giving us a couple of options here, and then it's saying final replacement code. So we just need to find this team for task and replace it with this code, and it should keep the new lines in between each one if they're available there. So all we need to do is come back in and find that in HTML. Let's try one more time, see if that solved it. Okay, it did solve it. I mean, the styling's not the same, but I mean, I don't think that's a huge deal. We can keep that as is. That's good. So now we have this workflow. We have the recording. The only other thing that I would change, which I didn't change yet, would be adding this recording URL into the dashboard as well. So let's do that now before we forget. So we come into our dashboard. We can just add it from the interface. We'll go extra context, maybe just above here, hey? So we can just go add element, and maybe we can't add a new field from this type of dashboard. So we need to go into our projects, and we'll just go URL and meeting recording URL. We'll hit create field. We'll come back into our interface. We'll add this into the interface. I mean, I might even add it up the top here. So let's just go add the meeting recording URL up top here. We hit publish, And then we need to fix this up inside of this create a record. And then we just get from the if attachments file URL, add that one in here, execute step. That one is done. Execute step. That one is done. Have a quick check for the latest version. And then now we have our meeting recording URL in here as well, so we can get access to it directly from inside the interface, as well as it being inside of the automation itself as well. So overall, this is doing pretty well now. I mean, this project is part of projects for us, so project creation. So now we have this system that is built out to automatically import all recordings that we have. So as you can see, like these types of systems, I mean, they take a few hours to build. It's always best to, if you're not technically skilled, then have someone like us from Make Big Moves to do that for you. I mean, I definitely work faster than my team does, but these types of systems are the way to scale so much faster. You don't imagine all of just the brain space that it takes away by not having to do the things like share the email, like go in and choose the team members and all of those types of things. It's all just automatically done for you. So literally all we need to do now is create the next workflow that then automatically assigns the tasks. And you could literally trigger that from a single button click inside of an email, or you can go into the dashboard and trigger it from a single button click inside of the interface itself. Either way, it doesn't really matter. So let's continue on now. Okay, so after a little bit more thought, then I've decided that we're just going to change this a little. So rather than build workflow 2, we're basically just going to add in or rebuild the 3 existing workflows that we already had in this system. So what will happen is all that needs to happen now is we'll change this email. So we'll change this to go to like finalize project plan. The user will click in to the interface. So they'll take them into this interface, and then they simply just need to come down into this AI model section, select the AI model that they want to use. Typically, we recommend like a thinking model for the rest of this. So let's just use an old thinking model, for example, and then we'll plan out then we'll rebuild these make.com automations basically as they are inside of N8N. So should be fairly easy to finish this off now as we continue going through the rest. So what do we need? So we just need to essentially come back and turn each of these into workflows. So let's just hit save, and we'll leave that turned off for now. And we will open up the project folder, and then we will create a new workflow, and we'll go project command 3.0 flow 1. Now this one, we use a lot of the same building principles. So we trigger it with a webhook. We respond to the webhook with a webhook respond node. We have a bit of code here to close the window so that when you trigger a webhook, it opens up a window. This will capture that window. And let's just hit save, and we'll add this into the dashboard. So let's go edit, and we'll edit this field here. It should have a webhook in here already. It does. So we're going to replace this make.com webhook with the N8N one. And we can see here that we already have our variables set up for the actual project. So we set all of this up in our brand assets and then import these variable fields from the brand assets itself. Plus we have a few if statements in the formula so that the planned project can only be completed when these fields above have been completed. If they're empty, then the planned project won't actually work. So we've added that in. Let's trigger that, and it should trigger this workflow, which it does. Now we need an Airtable node to get that data. So we'll go get a record, and then we will import our base ID, our table ID, and then our record ID. We'll execute that step. Next, if we come back into our interface here, we'll see that there's an AI status. So we want to update that AI status. So we'll go Airtable and update. So map in our base ID, table ID, record ID, and we will change the AI status to AI writing and execute. So that's how we start most workflows. All the other workflows will start that same way. Next, we just need to look at what we've done here. So you can see inside of Make, we've got 2 webhooks, we've got an Airtable. We used to set variables inside of Make because it made it easier to import templates, but we don't need to do that in N8N. So now we just have our open router node and this prompt here. So let's just copy this prompt. And now we need open router. So we can use the OpenAI node and we'll go message a model. And we're actually using open router credentials. I've talked about this so many times, so I'm not going to go into it on this workflow, but you can essentially just change the base URL for open router when you're doing your credentials to get access to all of the different models. Now we'll just paste this in, and we also need to map in the AI model. We also need to map in the AI model from Airtable, and we will map it in via the plain text field. And now we just need to fix up our variables inside of the prompt itself. So we have this context about the brand, task idea, all of these things. The only other thing we also need to add in is a meeting transcript. And we'll say if available. It might not be available every time, but we'll add in the meeting transcript here as well. So let's just work top to bottom. I'm just going to complete these in the background for you, and then I'll come back when it's done. Okay, so mapped all of that in. I actually already had the context up here, so I just changed that a little bit. We've got our instruction, like our template. We're just saying, and that the prompt itself is actually pulled in from the dashboard. So you can go back and watch all of the previous videos about that if you do want to learn more about it. I'll link those in the description. But this should give us an initial project plan that we can look at and then approve in this workflow. So it is a thinking model, so this is going to take a little while longer. While it loads, let's just check how we close this out. I think we just upload it back to Airtable, which we do. So in order to do that, we can simply just go update record. We can duplicate this one. It's already configured. And then we will change the status to AI complete. And then we will upload this into the field called AI output project plan. And it's provided a full reasoning and everything. What do we need? We just need the content. So we're just going to add the content in here. And we'll go execute step. And that is run successfully. So we can see now it's updated the status to AI complete. And here is our project plan. So it's basically just mapped out all of the different things that we need. Let's just fix that prompt to remove this top stuff here. And we'll go back to our message and then say, do not add any extra context. Strictly adhere to the content provided. Do not add we should probably use a later model. I think that could be part of the problem. So let's just hit save and we'll do a quick update of this model. So we'll just come into our AI models and let's add in, we'll just use GPT-5 and let's copy this one in. If I just replace this, then we don't need to update the workflow. It should automatically update. So yeah, GPT-5 there. So let's give this a check or like a run from the start. We'll go plan project. It'll say AI status is writing. It'll go off. It'll do the planning of the project and drop in a new output in here. It says workflow 1 complete. Now it's got next steps. Down here, we need to break these out now into the final project plan. So let's hit save on that workflow. And I'm just going to copy this entire workflow. The second one should work basically the same. So we'll come in, we'll go create flow and we'll paste this in. We'll just change this webhook URL. And if we come back into our interface, scroll down to our next one. So we have our initial project plan, and then we have a final project plan. So go edit field and we'll change this webhook right here. We'll hit save. So basically the point of doing 2 steps in this is just to make sure this is accurate. So you can do any edits of this here to make sure that it's accurate. So what I would do is I would actually just remove these things here. And I think it should actually output it like that. If we need to change it, then we can change the first prompt and maybe it needs a name first or a full name or something like that. but I think the AI will be able to determine the next step. So here we now go a little bit deeper and we provide all the different variables that we need in order to pass it into the next stage. So in the next workflow, we're essentially just doing a similar type of workflow where we're just changing this prompt here. So this prompt should have some of the same things, but not all of the same things. So we simply just open this up, and then in this messenger model, we're going to change this out. So we need to actually execute this workflow and give it a run first before we actually do anything. So let's try, we'll go execute final project plan. Come into this final project that has invalid syntax, which is fine. We've got our GPT mapped in correctly. We just need to map in these things correctly. So we've got our project plan, which we created in the last variation. We've got our team members. Add that in there. The instruction, we need to add in our start and end date. We need our final project plan structure. That one. So we've imported the structure from the base as well, and then we just need to add in the English language. So we built this so it can be used in any language at all. And that should actually do it. So let's give this an execute now, see what happens. While that's running, let's open up the Airtable, and once this is ready, we need to send the AI output final project plan. So it should go into that workflow. So we've got our AI output final project plan field. So as soon as this is ready, we're going to import this into this field here. All right, so there we go. So we have our content. Let's drag our content in and execute step. And now if we come back into here, we've got our AI output final project plan. So it's quite a lot of different things in there. I'm not sure if that structure is going to be exactly what we're looking for, but we can just try it. So in the next step, we are going to create some detailed instructions for these tasks. So there's two flows here. Basically, one is a simple task list. The other is a granular task list. I like the simple task list. I'm not going to do the granular one. So we're going to try this out and see how we go. So a lot of this should be a little bit easier in the flow that we build rather than what's in here in Make. You need to add a few extra details inside of Make because it's just not built as well as N8N. But we can use the same principles as what we just did in this workflow. So we'll copy all of this again. We'll save that one and we'll create a new workflow. We'll paste in all of those same nodes and we'll change the webhook. And let's fix this up in the dashboard. In our distribute tasks, we'll change the webhook URL. For some reason, it's not letting me click it. Let's have a quick look at that again. So we need if assigned to user, if AI output final plan, and if task distribution type. Okay, so we need to add in this distribution type. We'll just choose simple for now, and then maybe we'll remove that completely. I think we'll just remove it completely now. So let's remove this one out. All right. So if we go execute workflow and then we go distribute task, this will now pull all of this in and we can begin to rebuild this workflow. So we need to get the team members. So this one is essentially getting all of the team member data, and then it's transforming that team member data into something that is ready for the first prompt. All right. So let's add in one more variable here before this AI model. So we're going to go Airtable, search records, and we'll search for our team member. We'll add in our base ID. We want our team members table ID. And yes, that is all we need for that one. Be able to execute that once this AI model stops running. Okay, so now we have 6 items, and do we want to combine those items into a single field? So we already did that before, didn't we? So let's see if we can just find where that was. Okay, next we need the AI to then create the code for the actual task itself. Okay, so as I'm actually reading through everything that was done here, I didn't build this. I had someone, a previous team member, build this out, and I think they've made it too complicated than what it actually needs to be. Let's just think about this from first principles. So let's just stop this. So basically, we've got all of our team members here, but we already know the team members that we require. So rather than doing that, like let's start with the prompt first. So we're going to say, do we even need to create JSON? I don't think we do. Basically, what we need to do is just extract individual tasks. So let's just start this from scratch. We're going to say task project context, and we could even borrow some of this context from a previous table. Maybe the first one's a little bit better to pull from, which we don't have up. So we're going to add in our team members. We're going to add in our task description and context. We don't need the hypothesis, so that can be removed. And we need our final project context, and then I'll say final project plan, or we'll call this approved project plan. And then we just need our approved, and then we need instruction. Your task is to, so we basically just needed to analyze the project plan and then split each of the tasks in the final approved project plan into JSON with the following fields. So now I can just grab these fields that we had in this prompt here, and we can give it a bit of an idea like this. So let's call this example output. So we need day, date, time slot, assignee, tasks into the following under the title. Right. So that's what we're looking to do. Let's just fix these up. And we want that output in JSON, and then we simply just upload that into Airtable. It should be as simple as that. So let's just hit, we will say also, you may also enrich the task with more data if it requires it, so the assignee knows what to do. Look at the task context for more details on this. So that should be all we need to do. I don't know why it was made so complicated in the first one. So let's run that one now. It's using GPT-5, so it's probably going to take a little while. And then from there, we simply just need to create records in the task table, and it is done. So let's just go create a record. Let's wait for it to complete, and then we should be able to start mapping in those tasks immediately. Okay, so this is what it's provided us. Let's see if we can make this work. So let's map in our webhook details first. So we've got our base ID, and we want to then provide our task table ID. So here we go to distributed task table ID, and that will open this up. Now we should have the right parameters here. In order, no, we need to split it into items first. So let's just do that. So we need to go split, and then we will split out these tasks. And then from there, we should be able to map these in. So we have these things here. So task name. So we need a task name. The project name is always going to be the same. We'll need a status, which will be to do. Assignee. Need the assignee record ID. Okay, so we actually need a few more things. So we need a task name. We don't need a time slot, so I don't know why that's there. Assignee is going to be quite hard for us to do, but we can make that work. So we'll call this description. We need a start date and a due date. So we need a start date. We need a due date. We need an assignee. We need an assignee ID and a description. So I think they're all the things that we need. So let's fix these top ones up. Start date. We don't need a day. I don't know what this day stuff is about either. Okay, so that's looking better. So they're the actual fields that we need. Now we just need to JSONify string this one here. So let's just see if we can get this. And then we'll come back in. Let's see what happens if we add this in like that. All right. All team member data. And we'll go team members included in this task. And we'll get that from, so team for task. And then all team member data to find assignee ID is in here. So now I think we can one-shot this prompt in order to get everything we need and send that into Airtable. So let's give this a go now. Okay, so let's plan that out. Let's have a quick look at what this looks like now. If we split this out and come into Airtable and see if we've got everything now. So if we go task name, to do assignee, we will fix up will be the assignee ID. So what this actually needs to do is, should be like this. Our task description, our start date, our due date, task related SOP can be added in manually. And then if I believe our project name is the actual original record ID of that project, which we find from get a record, and it'll be that original ID there. And we'll go first. And now, if all of this is green, we should be good to go. Let's go execute. And assignee is incorrect. What happened here? I know what happened is it was just the way this was built. So this was built previously for assignees like this. But what we actually want to do is change this to our team members. And then we'll hit save. So it's just built a different way. This was built for having multiple, like an individual account for every team member. However, the way we use Airtable is we're not overly huge fans of Airtable. We don't like that they don't support creators, or they don't like their affiliate program. So we just have one account. And then we figure out other ways to use Airtable with that single account, like adding in IDs for our team members just from a table like this. So what we can do now is once we've changed this to a record ID, we should be able to pass this in. However, we cannot. Let's see what this one is all about. I'll probably need to update the field. Let's try again. And now that looks like it's completed successfully. So if I come into tasks and we find our project command, and here it is, all laid out here. It's assigned it to me and it's assigned it to John Per as well. So if I come back into our interface now, and then let's just hit publish. And if we choose this bottom one here that we've been working on, we should be able to come down to the very bottom, and we need to change this so it updates the final status as well. So here we would go update record, duplicate, and we want to go first. It's not AI status we need to update, it's the task status. So let's see if we can find that one. Task distribution status. I thought I clicked status. Is task created. And that means we also need to update this first one back here, because we don't want to update the AI status. We want to update the task distribution status to distribution in progress. All right. So let's just do this again from scratch. Let's delete these tasks that we just added. And then let's give this a run. So let's go execute workflow. Let's distribute these tasks. It's running. So we've got the right status now. And then it should begin to drop in all of the tasks. Now, what I might do is add an extra piece to the puzzle here inside of here. Let's see if we can maybe add in the tasks. So what should happen now is once these tasks are distributed, it'll actually show in this table here. So this table is now linked into our task field. However, it will only show the records for the tasks for that original record. So they only show the ones that will fit into this original record here, which I'm only just learned recently. So I didn't have this in the previous version. So once we have these tasks come in, we'll be able to access the task directly from this dashboard, but then we have all of these dashboards down here as well to track these tasks. So that's the plan. It's going to take a little while to just continue running. So it's still planning out right now. But overall, I think this system is way better than the 2.0 version. And I'm very excited to hear people's thoughts on this. So once we have this final version done, then we'll go through and just do another final test from start to finish so you can see how it all works in one go. But overall, I'm really liking this system. So if I hit record now, we can see that these are dropping in as we speak at the moment. So all of these tasks are now in here ready for us to use. So we could actually just make this a little bit nicer. So if we come down, we already know that it's part of the project and the brand, so we don't need those things. So if we go, and we should be able to filter these out. So we'll go hide the project name, hide the brand that it's for. Status can be in there, no worries. The assignee is good, so we'll keep that in there as well. Task description needs to be a little bit longer. Maybe we'll go start date, due date, assignee. It can be at the end. And in terms of appearance, we could make it a little bit higher maybe. I mean, I wonder if there's a better way to display this. I actually think maybe a list could be nicer. Let's go back here. Let's try list. Yeah, the list is a little bit nicer. And then if we go allow and allow this to be opened up. So we'll just change these couple of things. Assignee we can delete. Add in the new assignee button. Can make the assignee changeable. So if it somehow schedules it to the wrong person, then we can easily change it. And then we can see the rest of the details here. And then if we need access to the SOP, then we can link in an SOP here as well. So now this looks pretty solid, right? So we just come down, all of the tasks get generated in this list here. If we want to look into it, we can click on here and then we see the full task and deliverables and actions and so forth. So pretty cool system. So to recap, what happens is the first automation watches Google Meet, triggers every hour. If there is a meet that has been completed, then it will get the attendees, it will share that file to the attendees, it will get the transcript, it will extract the transcripts, it will create a project title, description, hypothesis, project dates. It will get the team members, pull in the team members, and then select the team members for that project. And then it will create a record inside of Airtable, this record here. So it'll create all of this, fill in these fields, add the transcript here, plus a start and end date. Plus it will also send an email to the person, which we actually need to fix in just a second. And the person can then come in and begin step 2. So the host will come in, they would check all of this top stuff, they would check the right team members, they would check these are the prompts they want to use, they would select their AI model and hit plan project. From there, AI will go off and it will do a quick project plan of what it thinks it needs to do. Once that comes in, the host then checks all of these, make sure the right person is selected for each of these tasks, edits these tasks if it's not correct. It will then create a final project plan once they're happy with it in this format here. I mean, we could change this format to match the JSON required, but anyway, we've got it working as is. And then it'll do a final plan. So it'll do an even bigger plan, and you can change how you can give more instruction on how you want the description to look and so forth. But this is how it works right now. We read through all of that, and if we're happy with all of that, then we hit create. Now, what you could do is you could remove this second step and just go directly to the final step if you preferred that way. We like having multiple checkpoints, but honestly, like the way AI is now, you could probably miss that step and still be just as accurate. So I'll leave that up to you. If you need our help with that, you can always reach out to us at makebigmoves.ai and speak to the guys about the agency work there. And yeah, for a few $1,000s, we can begin making these customizations for you. But if you're happy with how it works now, you then add in the AI model for the automatically create tasks, and then it automatically creates them and assigns it to the right assignee. Now, you could also change this assignee to be an individual account if you have accounts for each of your team members. And don't forget that we can also distribute these into like a ClickUp or an Asana or a Monday. You can also build it into other platforms. Now, you probably still need an Airtable base in order to send some of this stuff into, because it's quite hard to do some of this stuff in the other platforms. But we can definitely achieve the final output of assigning the tasks into ClickUp, for example. So that is how the system works. Now, I'm not going to keep you on the line here while I fix up that email. That's going to be done. Now, don't forget that this entire system is available as part of a bundle. It is probably the most valuable bundle I've ever seen in my entire life. There'll be a link in the description for that. So you could build this yourself. There are 6 videos showing you how I built this from scratch, essentially. And you could follow those 6 videos. It's probably going to take you 20, 30 hours to build 2.0, and then another, 3 or 4 hours to build 3.0. But it's completely up to you. You can do that if you like, if you want to learn, build the whole building process, or you can get our templates for a couple of dollars and then import them into your own system and reverse engineer it, and then start making your own customizations on top of this flow. Maybe you want to start integrating it with a ClickUp or an Asana. Start finding businesses that are willing to pay for this stuff. Keep in mind, like, we've built this into 2 client businesses already. Probably the first one we sold for, I think, $2,000. The second one we sold for $3,000 with very little customization. So these are the types of things that you can build so easily. If you have set templates, so much easier to sell for clients to get your foot in the door. Once with the one that we sold for $3,000, they've since spent, I think, $9,000 or $12,000 with us as we built out more automations for their business as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got a little bit of insight into how I work through these, how to improve the workflows. Like, it makes me actually quite angry that we had a previous employee make it so difficult. It didn't have to be that difficult. We could do it so much easier in assigning these tasks. But also, maybe it was something to do with Make.com. Make.com is just so much harder to use than N8N. So we have it in N8N now. So much easier to use and to build and to make changes. So do enjoy this one. Now, I've been diving deep on these builds for about the past month now. So I'd love for you to watch this video next. Make sure you go there, save it for your next big study session, because it's going to be an epic build video as well. See you in that one.